The goals for the whole district really center on what's happening in our country at large. Number one, dealing with the COVID crisis and dealing with the economic impacts and the economy that was going to be a difficulty anyways. In fact, in Congress, we passed significant monies, almost $1 trillion in the last tranche of money. A lot of that to help states and communities deal with the problem that are attached to COVID and their response to it. And also dealing with the economic side. And we're going to have an opportunity here. For decades, we neglected the infrastructure problems in our entire country, and in many respects lag behind other countries in a modern infrastructure and a green infrastructure. So the House passed a bill addressing this that should be the template for the Biden administration going forward. It's forward thinking, it's green, it's going to be dealing with broadband and modern needs in terms of infrastructure, and it's also going to be big, something that we've needed for decades. That will be the linchpin to help us economically go forward as well. In my district, we're going to benefit greatly from that. We have the 2 Cape Cod bridges that are now obsolete. Again, we worked within the House with House-passed legislation that sets a format for how the funding for this will go through. Without boring everyone with details, there were some important changes made in terms of how we're going to fund those bridges. So we should be able to build on that. In terms of the offshore wind, which is going to meet an energy need we have, and plus do it in a renewable manner. We have the biggest offshore wind in my district in the entire United States. Worked hard to keep that on life support when it was being challenged by the Trump administration in many respects. It's now there, and that's going to be part of an infrastructure bill as well. And we've done an awful lot already in terms of tax credits and extenders to make sure that it can survive and in fact move quickly. And that's going to move quickly. So you're going to see action on major infrastructure like that. Look, I probably represent the largest, if you spread it out in a linear way, coastal line in the entire United States for any congressional district. And environmental issues, coastal resiliency, and that kind of infrastructure has to be dealt with. And we will be dealing with that and continue to. Very important, not just for my district, but for Nantucket. We're going to put money into research. We have some of the better research institutes in the country, particularly on marine sciences. And my goal has been to create in our region, my district in particular, the hub for marine science and technology growth. Not just research, but actually to make this a catalyst for private investment, new jobs, businesses, new revenues. All these things are important for Nantucket specifically as well. Some of the infrastructure work we did just a few years ago with east-west jetties and keeping the harbor, that's holding up well. So that money was well invested and necessary. Access to the island is critical. And we worked with the CARES Act and the subsequent bill to make sure that the proper financing is there so Cape Air, from an air access standpoint, can keep running back and forth to the island significantly. And this was really hard. We had worked on access because of the steamship authority issues in Highline. The Trump administration had done away with the monies, the 1.6 million at the time annually, that was there to help fund that. We were able to work hard not only to recapture that, fighting back hard at the administration, but doubling it to 3.2 million. And also working to create the fact that this is a major commuter service. It sounds obvious, but it wasn't being counted that way by the Trump administration. The fortunate thing when the ridership went down because of the COVID crisis was we were able to use that commuter status to access $12 million to actually keep the Steamship Authority running when it was weeks away from running out of funds. And as you know, funds that would have been transferred in an unaffordable way to the island, as well as to the land-based ports. So these are issues that we'll continue to work on. making sure that the access to the island's open. There's money that we got recently, $19 million for upgrades with the Nantucket Airport, which will be a new taxi runway. These are all things that are big ticket items that the island itself certainly couldn't support. But without those access points in place, the tourism, the ability for people that are living there year round to get back and forth, and our economy would just be ruined. So that remains center point, but we're already working on that and have been just up until the last few months, and with this next infrastructure bill. The other things that we have concerns with, the Lorraine station on the island, we worked to get that transfer, worked well with Libby and the town officials to make sure that was done well. And the only thing holding that up now is a railroad easement, and it's in land court. I think everyone in the island knows about land courts and how that slows things down. But that's the remaining issue with that. We're working for funds for restoration of the Great Point Lighthouse. So that's there, and that's something we're going to deal with in this appropriations bill to come. And also with Nantucket, for years now, the last few years have been really turbulent in this respect. The commercial industry, the hospitality industry, the restaurants, the lodging places, just going through the turmoil of having the H-2B visa program changed every year. With the Biden administration and a new secretaries in place there, we're going to work very hard to do a couple of things. To go back to the returning workers way of meeting the excess the access and demand that's necessary, but also to create stability. People can't run businesses. They can't run small businesses and restaurants, and with the rules changing every year at the last minute. So we're working hard to go back to the fact that when we need excess demand, when we have excess demand for individuals, for the hospitality industry, that we can go back to the plan that worked under President Bush and President Obama, the returning worker approach to that, and to make sure that this is in place and it's stable and people know the rules of the game so they can conduct a business as the economy comes back, hopefully this summer. So those are a lot of things I covered. And again, what I said about coastal resiliency and the environment and what we have to do to make sure, like in the south side of the island, the erosions that's happening there and what's happening, and on the flooding that occurs every year in Easy Street and that area, that kind of infrastructure change could really be helpful to the fragile ecosystem of Nantucket. So I know that's a lot, but there's a lot we have to do.